Greetings. Let us learn about the role of acetic acid spray in gastrointestinal endoscopy. These are my acknowledgements, and today's learning objectives include the following. 1. We will learn about the purpose of acetic acid spray, and number 2, how to use acetic acid spray in gastrointestinal endoscopy. You need to select 2.5% acetic acid and take 2 syringes, typically 5 or 10 cc syringes, and fill them up with acetic acid, and pick up a spray catheter and then attach the syringe to the spray catheter and prime the catheter. And once the endoscopist has performed endoscopy and has reached the gastroesophageal junction, and then he will ask for the spray catheter, and then the spray catheter goes through the biopsy port, and once it comes out, when the endoscopist says start spraying, you spray slowly. About 5 to 10 ml is used, 2.5% acetic acid, and you spray as the endoscopist is pulling the endoscope from the gastroesophageal junction all the way to the squamous epithelium. And then you watch what happens. You now see the Barrett's esophagus on the left, and once the acetic acid is sprayed, there is a chemical change. The protein gets denatured. It becomes white. It is known as aceto-whitening. And as you keep watching, the aceto-whitening persists without any focal loss in a Barrett's esophagus without any neoplastic tissue. On the other hand, as you continue to watch, within the first 30 seconds, you may notice focal loss of aceto-whitening with the red patches appearing in the Barrett's esophagus, and those areas of focal loss of aceto-whitening, that is the red patches in a white cloud, indicate the presence of neoplastic tissue. And then you take biopsies from those areas so that you have the highest yield in terms of the degree of dysplasia or early cancer in Barrett's esophagus. In addition to its use in Barrett's esophagus, acetic acid is also used in the stomach to define the extent of gastric intestinal metaplasia. Gastric intestinal metaplasia is very subtle. Most endoscopists have difficulty finding it out. Even I have difficulty recognizing unless it is glaringly obvious. And by instilling acetic acids into the stomach, you spray the antrum first and take time to examine that area, and then after that you spray the body and examine that area. You don't spray from antrum to the body in one go because the reaction happens. That is, the aceto-whitening happens and disappears very quickly. So that's why you spray the antrum, take time to examine, and then spray the body of the stomach. First the lesser curve and then the greater curve, and take time to watch what is happening. Acetic acid is also used in the colon, especially when you're looking for subtle polyps, especially sessile serrated adenomas, And by spraying on that lesion, you can define the true extent of sessile serrated adenoma. You can see in the picture below, the lesion is very subtle, and if you sprayed, you could have seen it much better. So we have learned a lot about acetic acid spray, and let me summarize. It is used in Barrett's esophagus to figure out whether there is a neoplastic component, i.e. dysplasia or cancer, or not. In the stomach, to define the extent of gastric intestinal metaplasia. The larger the extent, the higher the risk for developing stomach cancer. That's why it's important to figure out how extensive is gastric intestinal metaplasia by spraying acetic acid. And then targeting the biopsies. In the colon, for defining the subtle serrated adenomas, because these adenomas are difficult in terms of they don't have a clear boundary, and when we resect, if we do not resect completely, we leave tissue behind, and there's a high chance for the polyp to come back. So you want to avoid that by defining the true extent of the serrated adenoma by spraying acetic acid and defining the exact boundary. Thank you.